In this video, we're going to talk about sample analysis. So there are a couple of ideas on this topic, whether theoretical questions or numerical questions. So let's start by saying that if you want to know the population of or the average income of the person in your country, so you can't possibly go to each and every one living in your country and ask them for their income. This will be extremely unfeasible and very time consuming to ask the whole population. So instead we take a sample. So out of the whole population, we take a small sample to ask it. Maybe based on this sample, you can determine the average income for the entire population. So this is the strategy we follow. However, there are certain rules for taking the sample itself. So here are some of the rules. The first rule for taking a sample is that it should be from different locations, right? So imagine that you want to find the average income and you go into high-class compounds or A-class compounds and ask people there. Then definitely this is going to give you a not accurate indication for the entire population. So instead you need to go to different locations. Or another example, if you want to know if people like soccer or not in your country, so you don't go to a stadium and ask people there. This is definitely not going to be a good sample. Instead, you need to go to different locations all around your country. So this is the first rule. These rules are just keywords. They're not necessarily contradicting. They can all give the same meaning, but these are just keywords that you'll find in these kinds of questions. So the second thing is your sample should not be biased. An example of a biased sample of people, let's say if you have a garden in front of your home and you're deciding, you and your neighbors, whether you make it a children's park or a dog park. So imagine taking your sample from all those who own dogs. So if you go and ask these people, then definitely these are going to give you a biased opinion because they're just going to say, let's make it a dog park. So you can't ask these people. Instead, you need to ask all the people in the neighborhood, and you need to select them, which is the third rule, random. So if you want to do a survey, let's say at your school, to figure out whether your colleagues like the performance of the school or like the school or not. If you announce that you're doing a survey and let people come to you, this is not going to give you an accurate results because most probably those who are going to come, those who have strong opinions or they have biased opinions that they want to express. Instead, you should select your colleagues on a random basis, assign random numbers to them and just pick these numbers randomly so you make sure that you don't get biased opinions. And another rule that your sample should be representative of the population. So it should be correctly representing the population you want to estimate for. Remember that I can never actually find the actual value for the population because we said it's going to be infeasible. But instead we're finding an estimate, but it should be representative of the population. And let me give you an example on this as well. Imagine that you want to find the average height of a student at your school. And you went and measured the height for all the boys. You took a sample of all boys. Would this give you an accurate estimate for the average height of any student in your school? Well, probably not, because a student would indicate that she is a girl or a boy. So if you took a sample that included all males, then this sample would be a good estimate for the population of boys at your school, not the population of students or children in general. So if you want to get, if you get an estimate for the entire population of the school, boys and girls, then your sample must represent that. So you need to take a sample of boys and girls at your school so that you can approximate for the population. So these are some of the ideas that you need to keep in mind. And you also need to keep in mind that what you get is an estimate, meaning that if you found a certain results in your sample, this does not mean it should be exactly true for the entire population. So meaning if you have a population, let's say of 100 million, and you took a sample of 100,000 to ask them whether they smoke or not, and you found that, let's say, 30% of those you asked smoke. So would this mean that if you took another 100,000, you're going to get surely the same result? No. And also, this does not mean that the 100 million, 30% of them should smoke as well. But this serves as a good estimate for the entire population. So I can say that I can estimate that out of all the population, 30% smoke based on the sample that I got.